You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of ZenTek Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from ZenTek Consultants. I am Jim, your obnoxiously loud but somehow charming host. And with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco
the dull one. Never has anything good for me, and that's why we make him suffer through the engineering joke of the week. All right, Rocco, you ready for your joke this week?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay, so why is a robotics engineer never lonely?
Why?
Because he's always making new friends. Huh? Come on. There's a god-awful joke for you. All right, folks. So for today's topic, we're going to talk about Rocco and my favorite topic, ourselves. Not only that, but we actually brought in a guest to help us tell you about us. Well, all right, let's be honest. It's not really us, but we do want to share some big news about ZenTek Consultants. Since all you folks out there listening are friends and clients and supporters of what we've been doing here at ZenTek over the last decade or so. So for starters, I'll just say that ZenTek has been growing pretty steadily over the last few years, and we have just opened up a new subsidiary firm. And to help us tell you about it, we've invited Steve Fahie, who is the president of the new company, onto the show today. So, Steve, thanks for joining us on the podcast, even though you should know better.
Yeah, after that intro, I'm a little nervous.
A little nervous. You're not going to top that joke as much as you try. All right. So our new subsidiary firm is called ZenTek Consultants CA, and that resides and it operates exclusively in Canada, hence the CA. And Steve is the guy running the day-to-day operations of the new company. So let's get to know a little bit about Steve first, and then we'll get into exactly what ZenTek Consultants CA is all about. So Steve, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your background in the industry and how you were unlucky enough to get stuck working with Rocco and I for as long as you have.
Well, you're throwing me off right away, bringing you two into it. I fell in love with design and drafting in school at an early age and decided that I was going to study to be an architectural technologist. And that was back in the 80s when you were still learning on a board with your T-square and your Leroy kit for lettering. And
the fun days. I
realized pretty quickly if I had to sit at a desk and use a Leroy kit for the rest of my career, I wouldn't make it. So I got my diploma and started looking around and said, how can I use my education but not have to do drawing every day? And I stumbled across an Autodesk VersaCAD reseller. So I reached out to the owner, had a couple interviews, got hired, and just never looked back. That was 33 years ago, and I've been in the CAD industry ever since. Started off doing support for VersaCAD, AutoCAD, MicroStation. If anybody remembers Nth Engine, VersaCAD with Nth Engine, so you could avoid those terrible regenerations. And did some Archibus, sold some HP design jets and hydrostatic plotters. Spent 28 years in the Autodesk channel, selling and supporting their products, and left the channel late 2018. Took a couple months, thought about some things, and decided I would get back into the AEC market, but in a little different flavor, and become a BricsCAD reseller. And started selling BricsCAD in early 2019. And shortly thereafter, you and Rocco became authorized for BricsCAD in the U.S., and I just reached out to you to welcome you to the channel and started chatting with you guys. And
that was your first mistake?
But realized that in some weird way we got along and started relying on you guys for some online training for BricsCAD, and the relationship just continued to grow, and it led us to where we are today.
There you go. Okay. So it's a good intro, right? So, look, as you guys can imagine, building out a fully independent subsidiary in another country, right, even when it is a sister country to the US like Canada, it's no small undertaking. It really does require a lot of effort, a lot of time, and dedication to get that whole process up and running. Not to mention it also costs us quite a few bucks. Look, the paperwork alone to set it up was enough to choke a horse. But Steve and Rocco both put in a lot of long hours to get all of this up and running and functional as it is today. So, Steve, I'll start with you right here. The first question for that really kind of has to be why, right? Why did we feel it was necessary to build an entirely distinct company in Canada instead of just working with what we already had?
Many factors there. Obviously, U.S. firms like to deal with U.S. firms. Canadian firms like to deal with Canadian firms. But if you look at a day-to-day functioning of us operating the business and dealing with our clients, one of the major hurdles was the currency. We had to quote everything to our Canadian clients in U.S. dollars, and some of our major accounts were fine with that. They either had U.S. offices or U.S. bank accounts for dealing with suppliers, and they were fine. They had no problem dealing with it. But the majority of our clients are smaller firms that don't deal with the U.S. And when they had to start making payments in U.S. dollars, they were going through credit cards. There were extra fees, extra costs. So when you're dealing with a client, you want to make life easy. And we had a hurdle that we couldn't get over unless we opened up a Canadian operation, which was the currency factor. So that alone was a big thing. And the other equally important driving factor was the more I learned about the custom software solutions that ZenTek had created, and I really saw larger opportunity within the Canadian market to bring these products to our clients here. And if you're going to grow the market and start dealing with government accounts, they're going to want to deal with a Canadian company. So that was the main driving factors for me. I felt it was important for us in the relationship where we were, the growth we were looking at achieving, that it made sense to open the Canadian subsidiary.
Yeah, I like it. And look, from my standpoint, kind of on the tech side, we've been doing just an absolute ton of services and training work with, Canadian clients, particularly over the last few years. And to me, it just seemed like a no-brainer to get us up and running as a Canadian company as well, right? So like Steve said, we'd have an easier time billing and working with both, government agencies and large Canadian firms in the AEC and the public sector. So, Rocco, you took care of the bulk of the paperwork and the admin requirements from our end while getting ZenTek CA set up. What was the most difficult thing you ran up against?
Oh, the most fun angle of it all is dealing with government. Oh, yeah. Well, whether it's the U.S. government or Canadian government or any government, as you guys can imagine, it's not fun, and we're still struggling through aspects of getting all the paperwork in order. But that's government and banking; those are the two biggest challenges. Banking is different in Canada, not drastically different, but it's different, in their fee structures and just how quickly they move, and it's just a different way of doing things. So those two are the biggest barriers. Dealing with the customers is the easy part. Customers are for the most part pretty easy to work with, and we've seen a lot of customers welcome this change, and it's certainly a greater incentive for Canadian customers to work with us. So we definitely welcome Canadian customers on board as part of the ZenTek customer base.
Cool. So, all right. So Steve, I pointed out, right? I said, we've done a lot of work with the Canadian government, right, which was a large factor in opening up ZenTek Consultants CA. So why don't you tell folks, what type of work have we been doing for them, And what areas do you see us as the president of ZenTek Consultants CA? How do you see us continuing and growing in that type of work in Canada?
Primarily our penetration with the government up to this point has been with our Bluebeam services. We've recently been working on a large project with a government account where they were relying on AutoCAD floor plans and Excel spreadsheets to try and keep track of all of their space. And, they have hundreds of buildings and millions of square feet, and it was cumbersome. It was difficult to keep up with, and they didn't have the desire to get a full FM solution and all of the overhead and requirements that go with that to try and solve this requirement. So they turned to us to see what we could deliver to them. And we brought them a Bluebeam solution where we customized a digital dashboard for them to track all of their buildings throughout the province and be able to drill down to the individual buildings, right into the floor plan, catalog the space, link all of that to their Excel file for output of reports. There's potential in the future to look at maybe tracking some assets for them, maybe look at doing some maintenance tracking for work orders performed on equipment within their buildings. So that's been a very fun project. I really enjoy the FM side of things, and it's been a pleasure helping that client. And I really think that it's got a large opportunity throughout Canada, really throughout North America, but throughout Canada, because it's such a flexible solution that organizations from government to private, large to small, can benefit from the solution that we've created in our offering. So I really see that being a primary focus for us moving forward.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It was a great job to work on. I really look forward to doing more of that as we move forward in Canada. So, I think the great thing about the ZenTek Consultants and ZenTek Consultants CA, it's that we're sister entities, right? Which means that we provide all the same tools and functions and features that we've developed over the years here in the U.S. to our Canadian clients, right? But, like Rocco and Steve were saying, it makes all the billing and the taxes, et cetera, available in their native currencies and meeting local, code and tax requirements. And I think it's really helpful that, we have Steve, who is a native Canadian, running the show up there, right? Which gives us, I think, a really good view of local needs and work processes that, Rocco and I, may not have as solid a handle on down here in the States. So, Steve, what do you think? I mean, how big of a factor is it when you're working with local Canadian clients, that you're there in country, right? And what areas of business do you think that kind of, we'll call it localization, helps with the most?
Personally, I think it's huge. I think it's important that we have the Canadian content. We're trying to grow our presence. We're trying to promote our company and grow. And I think it's important that people see that we're making the investment to do that within the Canadian framework and have a Canadian entity. From a government level, it's very important because governments are always looking to invest in companies that are Canadian. So, they can go outside if they see a need that they have and there's nobody local that can meet it. They're perfectly able to go outside of the country, but their first preference is always to deal with a Canadian entity to help them, which makes sense. They're spending taxpayer dollars. It should benefit Canadian organization and Canadian staff and everything else. Canada and the U.S., as you mentioned, we're so close. We're so similar. We're our largest trading partners. Most Canadians deal with the U.S. companies almost on a daily basis. I mean, FedEx, UPS, Ford, Chevy, Chrysler. I mean, everywhere you look in Canada, you see American organizations, but they all have Canadian operations. So I think that's what makes it such an easy thing to deal with and to have this type of relationship that we created, because the two countries are so similar and work so well together that having a Canadian and a U.S. sister companies and deliver the solutions to the market really works well. And, both U.S. and Canadian individuals are used to it.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. All right. So I tell you what, let's take a break to hear from today's sponsor. And when we get back, I want to get Steve to tell us about the leading services and features that he is offering for folks up in Canada. All right. So stand by, folks. We will be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. Hey, everybody. This is Jim and Rocco with ZenTek Consultants. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the training options that we have available here for you guys at ZenTek Consultants. We offer public training classes as well as private custom courses for all of your software and design needs. So, Rocco, why don't you tell the folks what kind of training we offer and how do they reach out to us to get it going for them?
Yeah, Jim, we cover everything from Bluebeam to Autodesk to Microsoft to BricsCAD to civil site design training and beginner through to advanced level topics. Like you said, both public and private courses. If you got a group and want to run a class specifically for your team, we can help you. So just feel free to hit our website. We're at ZenTekConsultants.net. That's ZenTek, or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@ZenTekConsultants.net.
There you go, ZenTek Consultants for all of your technology training needs. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We're talking with Steve Fahie, the president of the newly incorporated ZenTek Consultants CA up in Canada. And he's telling us all about the cool new things he's got running for our brethren up there on the frozen tundra. Even though we're talking today and he's warm and sunny and baking and we're cold and rainy and freezing down here in Jersey. So much for that idea. But that's kind of what I want to focus on in this half of the show. What offerings does ZenTek CA bring to the table that, are going to be most beneficial to the Canadian populace? So Steve, let's start with software. What industries are you focusing on as a reseller in Canada, and what systems are you offering up in those spaces?
Primarily, we're dealing with all levels of government, the AEC, so architectural engineering, construction, civil, manufacturing. So we touch on all of those industries. And from a software standpoint, we're very lucky at ZenTek where we have a lot of our own solutions that we develop and supply to our clientele. We have Zen Estimate Steel and HVAC. We have ZenTek Review Tools for general contractors, site work, structural, interiors, exteriors. We have Zen Pipe for Civil 3D. So these are all tools that we've developed in-house and sell, train, support on. So we're really excited to be promoting those solutions to our Canadian clientele. From authorizations with third parties, we have BricsCAD, Bluebeam, Corridor Easy, Civil Site Design, Stringer Topo, Spatial Manager. So, a nice diverse offering to cover a lot of different industries and needs off. And, we're always looking to add to the mix of software that we have. If a client mentions something or looking for a third party to run on something, we're always open to looking to meet that need.
Nice. So yeah, and that's software, right? Software is always great, right? Everybody loves software, right? We all like to get the new toys and the updates and the patches, or even entirely new systems, right? That we hope are going to make our businesses run better and make us more money. The big issue there, of course, is that no matter how good the software gets, somebody has to be able to run it. And look, I do not care how advanced the system gets or how much AI integration they offer. At the end of the day, a human being needs to make the decisions, enter the data, and choose between, different processes and results that are going to best suit the project or the client's needs. And that means that they need to understand how that software system works. And to do that, we're talking about training. So Steve, what types of training offerings are you including in ZenTek CA, and how and where do folks go to access those?
Regarding training, we actually have a very unique approach to offering training. I don't need to tell you and Rocco about it, as you guys are the ones that created it, but for the clients that are listening, all of our training is delivered online, either with a live instructor or on demand. And where we differ is, Jim and Rocco, you guys spent many years in the Autodesk industry, same as I. And, I met with a client yesterday and, talking about training. And as he said, you deal with the Autodesk resellers and they want the 3-4 day training. And, it cost me thousands of dollars to set up the training, but then I lose tens of thousands of dollars by having my whole team out of the office and not being billable. So, your guys' method that you created a number of years ago is you broke all of the training up into 8-hour segments. So if you want a civil 3D road rehab or defining corridors or whatever the case, Revit, it doesn't matter what course it is, BricsCAD, everything is an 8-hour training class. And then we further break them up into 4 2-hour sessions. And what that allows us to do is schedule the 2 hours so that the client is at their desk, they're working, they don't have to worry about taking a lot of time away from productivity. They just break, they take their 2 hours of training, they go back to work, and they can instantly apply what they just learned because it's only 2 hours. So you didn't have a massive information dump. So your ability to take advantage of what you're learning is much better than sitting through 8 hours. By the end of the day, you're exhausted and you're trying to remember what you learned. You go back to the office, you're overwhelmed with falling behind, and then you got to catch up, and it's a week or two later before you even think about what you took in the course, and you can remember about 25% of it. With our approach, you're learning right away and you're using it right away. And we offer those solutions for Procore, Bluebeam, Autodesk, BricsCAD, Microsoft, third-party applications, and our own solutions, all of our own Zen Estimate and ZenTek review tools. And, it's a really good approach to training, and clients really seem to respond well to it. We have all of our offerings available on our website, which is ZenTek Consultants CA. So clients can feel free to go to the website, take a look around, and of course they can always reach out to me either by phone call or email, and I'd be happy to share any information with them.
Sounds good. There you go. So Rocco, kind of looking forward a little bit. What's the biggest segment of business that you expect to see booming in ZenTek CA over the next year? Right? Is it software or training, services, or something else entirely?
Yeah, I think it's, based on the traction that we're seeing in the U.S. and again, the similarities in the markets, I think it's going to be in services and particularly in construction services. That there's a need and construction is always lags in terms of adoption of technology, but we're seeing that there's a need to deploy that technology. There's a shortage in employees, and they're starting to realize, they've been realizing right from small to large construction that there's a need to better deploy technology, and that it's advanced significantly over the past, decade, as would be expected. But so I think that's probably one of the areas of growth that I see that has the most potential for us.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, the thing that helped us grow ZenTek here in the U.S., right, the way that we have, it's always been our consulting services, right? We focus on providing clients with not just kind of, how-to training and software sales, but on really partnering with them long-term to build, tools and configurations and, workflow processes with all their technologies that kind of help them run a simpler, more efficient design build process. I tell people it's kind of our secret sauce here that we don't have a canned answer ready to sell clients. We never do. We always take the time to learn what their needs are and develop programs specific to them to enhance their strengths and eliminate their pain points. And having worked with Steve for years, right, and talking through the ZenTek CA setup, I know that he agrees with that approach. So, Steve, tell us about your plan for service offerings in Canada. I mean, are you planning to continue them as a key focus? And I guess what areas are you planning for, the ZenTek CA to focus on, or even change up a bit for your Canadian market?
Yeah, so, we've touched on it a couple of times here today. The the U.S. and Canadian market is so tightly integrated and so similar within the construction and the design world that pretty much all of the service offerings that we're doing in the U.S. really just transfer straight across the imaginary border, we'll call it, into Canada. And so, I think we'll continue to key in on the Bluebeam services and Procore services to really help the industry get more out of the software that they're investing in. And, as certified consultants within these industries, we bring a lot to the table, and the history and the experience that we have, we have the ability to listen to a client, see where they're going, where they need to be, and really customize a solution for them to meet their needs. So, I think as far as changes, the only change that I can think of right now would be metric. Currently our solutions are in Imperial, and, we're good old metric up here in Canada. So I think we'll have to address that with a couple of our ZenTek custom solutions and bring a metric version to market to please the Canadian folk.
Metric? Don't you know this is America? We measure things in guns per cheeseburger here. Come on, man. Oh, goodness. All right. So, one other area, I guess, that we do a lot of work with, and Steve mentioned this before, we do a lot of it here in the U.S. version of ZenTek. It's the development of tools and kickstart programs to help clients start down the path of detailed configuration, right, for their, estimating and construction and project management and CAD systems, just kind of name a few. We have a lot of those. So Steve, what ZenTek specific software systems, right, will you be offering the Canadian clients, and which ones do you think are going to bring the most benefit to them in both the short and the short and the near, or short and the long term is what I was trying to say?
Yeah. I think based on the experience that we've had with our clients over the past several months, I think the reaction we're getting to our Bluebeam facility control services for FM has been overwhelming. I think there's a really good opportunity, and I think the clients are going to respond well to that product and service that we offer. And our Zen Estimate. The feedback and the response we get from clients when they see the tool that you've created and what it can do, the comments are, I've never seen anything like this before, and, can't wait to use this, and this is what we've been waiting for. So when you start hearing comments like that and feedback from clients, you have a solution that is meeting a need. So those are the ones that I'm really looking forward to pushing to the Canadian market and helping clients take advantage of.
See, Rocco, I do good stuff once in a while. Somebody likes what I do.
Software development, not jokes.
Oh, come on. That was a good joke to start the show. No, those jokes are awful. I go find the worst ones I can possibly find anywhere. All right. So, when we have a guest on, even the ones that are part of the ZenTek team, I like to give them a chance to talk about something that they think is important that I forgot to ask. So let's put Steve on the spot, all right, and ask him to give us a great elevator pitch on the new ZenTek CA that he's heading up. So, what about it, sir? What do you want listeners to know about ZenTek CA that I just forgot to ask?
So that was the bus running by that you just threw me under with a question. So yep. Good question.
Listen, you made fun of my jokes. I throw you under the bus. That's the way this works.
I guess I think we covered a lot of material today, and I can't think of anything specifically that we didn't address. But one thing I will point out is how happy I am that we finally have the Canadian operation running and operational. Been months of hard work, as we mentioned earlier, and look forward to having such a talented team of technical experts available to support me moving forward in the Canadian expansion and market. So that's one thing that I didn't get a chance to mention as far as what I think it brings to me from what I was doing with my own BricsCAD reseller channel and working as a sole entity, to being part of the ZenTek family and having the large resource pool that we have. That really changes the dynamic of what I can bring to the clients that I deal with. So that would be the best answer I could come up with for you.
I like it. So good answer. All right, so let's wrap it up there for today. But before we bounce, I just want to thank Steve Fahie for taking the time away from building our new Canadian enterprise to be with us today. So, hopefully, Steve, we weren't too obnoxious or scary, and you'll come back and give us regular updates on all the good things, happening up there for us in the Canadian market. Much appreciate your time today, Steve.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
folks.
you, Steve.
We'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of ZenTek Consultants. That's Rocco and I. ZenTek Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. ZenTek strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to ZenTek?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through ZenTekConsultants.net. You can email us at sales@ZenTekConsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.